Imagine being so broke, so powerless, and so utterly at the bottom of society that you do not even own your own feet, and yet somehow you end up writing the ultimate manual on freedom, the kind of freedom that even billionaires cannot buy and dictators cannot steal. This is not the plot of a Disney underdog movie, although honestly, Disney, if you are watching, call me, because I have got some casting ideas. No, this is the true story of Epictetus, a man who was literally born a slave, had a body that was broken by his master, and still somehow became one of the most influential philosophers in history by telling the world that nobody can chain your mind unless you hand them the keys. Which is either the most inspiring thing you will hear all week or the most annoying, depending on how much you enjoy blaming your problems on the weather, the economy, and that one person at work who eats tuna in the office microwave. Epictetus's whole deal was this: freedom is not about whether the door is locked, it is about whether you are still screaming at it after you realize it is made of cardboard. He was born around the year 55 AD in what is now Turkey, in a world where slavery was not just common. It was basically an unpaid internship without the promise of a job at the end. We do not even know his original name, because that is what slavery does. It strips you of identity until you are just property, like a walking toaster. He was owned by Epaphroditus, a powerful secretary in Emperor Nero's court, which sounds fancy until you remember Nero was basically the world's most chaotic boss, the kind of guy who would burn down the city and then write a performance review blaming you for not bringing enough marshmallows. Somewhere along the way, Epictetus's leg was permanently injured, possibly broken by his master, and yet he treated it as just another fact of life, like having bad Wi-Fi. While most people would have spiraled into rage or depression, Epictetus simply shrugged metaphorically because shrugging was free and kept focusing on what he could control, which became the central pillar of his philosophy. Here is the core of Epictetus's wisdom, boiled down to something you could tattoo on your forearm, although maybe do not because it will make small talk at parties weird. Some things are up to us, and some things are not. That is it. That is the whole Stoic operating system. And when you think about it, it is embarrassingly simple, like realizing you have been fighting with your TV remote for 10 minutes, only to discover the batteries are in backwards. You cannot control the weather, other people's opinions, the stock market, or whether your favorite show gets canceled after one season. You can control your thoughts, your choices, and how many cookies you eat in one sitting, although that one is still up for debate. Epictetus's genius was taking this obvious truth and hammering it into something you could use to survive anything from a bad hair day to the collapse of civilization. He argued that external events are neutral. It is our opinions about them that create misery or joy. Your boss yells at you? That is just sound waves hitting your eardrums. You interpret it as, "I am a failure," or, "This job is a soul-sucking wasteland and I should run away to join a traveling jazz band." And suddenly the sound waves have become an existential crisis. The trick, according to Epictetus, is to build a mental firewall that screens everything with one question. Is this in my control or not? If it is not, toss it in the cosmic recycling bin and move on. If it is, act on it without whining, procrastinating, or creating a tragic opera about it in your head. And yes, this is way harder than it sounds, because humans are basically Olympic athletes in the sport of worrying about things they cannot control, like strangers' Instagram stories, or the distant possibility of getting attacked by a swan. Epictetus taught that real freedom is an inside job, which is both profound and also a little bit of a bummer if you were hoping for an external fix like win the lottery or move to a beach house in Bali. He said, "No man is free who is not master of himself," which is basically ancient Greek for stop letting your impulses drive the bus. If your mood swings are controlling you, if your habits are controlling you, if your craving for internet validation is controlling you, then congratulations, you are still a slave, just to invisible chains. And this is where Epictetus gets delightfully savage, because he was not interested in making you feel good. He was interested in making you free. He compared people who obsess over things they cannot control to children crying over broken toys. Except our toys are things like political scandals, celebrity breakups, and whether our neighbor's dog is barking in Morse code. His solution? Practice voluntary hardship. Do without things on purpose, like skipping dessert or taking a cold shower, not because you enjoy suffering, but because it proves to yourself that you can survive without getting everything you want. This builds mental muscle, so when life really does rip something away from you, you do not collapse like a Victorian fainting couch. Epictetus was also all about role-playing, and not the kind that requires dice or costumes unless you want it to. He told his students to imagine themselves as actors in a play where the script is written by the universe. You do not control your role, whether you are a king, a servant, or person number 3 in crowd scene. You control how well you play it. If life casts you as the janitor, you bring the best mop performance anyone has ever seen. If life makes you a billionaire, you do not start acting like the Monopoly guy after 3 espresso shots. He even applied this to death, which, spoiler alert, is coming for all of us, and said that fearing it is like refusing to leave the stage after your part is over. The audience is done clapping, the lights are going out, and you are still there yelling, "But wait, I have more lines." All of this might sound like the philosophical version of "calm down, bro," but modern psychology actually backs him up. Studies in cognitive behavioral therapy, which is basically Stoicism with a billing code, show that separating what you can control from what you cannot massively reduces stress and anxiety. People who practice this are less reactive, more resilient, and significantly less likely to have meltdowns over someone else eating their leftovers. Now, here is where Epictetus gets even more interesting. After gaining his freedom, possibly through manumission, he did not go on a yacht-buying spree or become a full-time revenge blogger about his old master. Instead, he opened a philosophy school in Greece and spent the rest of his life teaching people, from rich Romans to broke wanderers, how to set themselves free without moving an inch. He lived simply, owned almost nothing, and yet had a kind of unshakable happiness that made emperors listen to him. Which, to be fair, might also have been because emperors love free advice, but still. So how do we take Epictetus's ancient wisdom and apply it to our hyperactive, Wi-Fi-obsessed, oat milk latte-chugging lives? First, audit your worries. Make a list of everything bugging you right now. Then put a check mark next to the ones you can control. Spoiler, that list will be tiny. Work on those, and for the rest, practice the ancient art of not giving a decorative ceramic fig. Second, build discomfort into your life. Take the stairs. Sleep without your phone. Eat something without adding a photo to social media. These little acts remind you that you are stronger than your cravings, and they give you a weird kind of superpower when actual hardship comes knocking. Third, play your role well. Whatever your current job, relationship, or situation is, treat it like a role in a play that you intend to absolutely nail. You can still work toward a better role, but while you are here, give it your best performance. And finally, rehearse the worst-case scenario. Epictetus encouraged imagining loss, not to be morbid, but to train your mind to see that you would still be you, still be alive, and still be capable of living well, even if things went wrong. The more you practice this, the less life can scare you, and the freer you become. Epictetus's life proves that you do not need perfect circumstances to be free. You do not need more money, more stuff, or more control over other people. You need more control over yourself. That is the kind of freedom that no one can take, because it was never in their hands to begin with. And if a man who was born in chains, who had his body broken, and who lived under the shadow of some of history's most dangerous rulers could find that kind of freedom, then what is our excuse? So the next time life feels like it has you in a chokehold, remember Epictetus, the philosopher who started life as someone else's property and ended it as one of history's greatest liberators. He did not escape by running away, he escaped by looking inside and breaking the mental chains first. And if that is not a superhero origin story, I do not know what is. Now, if you enjoyed this little trip through ancient wisdom and sarcastic reality checks, then you know what to do. Drop your thoughts in the comments, tell us where you feel most stuck and what you think Epictetus would say about it, and hit that subscribe button for more XQ quick funny explanations, where philosophy, science, and humor meet in a three-way high five at the speed of laughter.